Always remember, Kid Cosmos is your friend. Oh, Netflix, you have outdone yourself once again. When I didn't think it was possible for the bar to go any lower, you done did it. You done did it. Good goddamn job, you fucking money-wasting fuck nuggets. The Electric State is a complete waste of resources, aka a Netflix original, allegedly directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who actually have done big-budget, money-making movies that have actually done pretty well with audiences and critics alike, aka Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, two of arguably the biggest grossing movies of all time that actually are well remembered as being the peak of the MCU. They also did The Gray Man, which was a complete waste of resources, and I thought the $200 million price tag for that was absolutely ridiculous, but oh no. Oh, no, the Electric State absolutely smashes it out of the park. A $320 million price tag. For what? Where? Did half of the goddamn budget go to the Netflix executives snoring it up their goddamn noses, or maybe snoring it off a hooker's ass? I don't goddamn know. Maybe that's the wrong thing to accuse them of, but I really don't know where the $320 million went for this. It's not that the production doesn't look halfway slick, it's just that it's totally bland, boring, plotting, and just full of plop. A lot of goddamn plop. Plop aside, this movie is a complete waste of its cast. But before I get to the cast, let me get to the writers of this. The writers of this fucking fiasco. $320 million. I didn't think that this movie was going to be all that good, but I thought, okay, it'll be stupid, mindless entertainment. Well, it was stupid and mindless. There was just no entertainment to be found. So, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, they've done the, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, which really weren't known for their peak dialogue pieces, but at least had enough Easter eggs and stuff that fans of the MCU timeline would enjoy. They also did Thor Dark World, as well as the 3 Narnia movies. Again, not necessarily known for their great writing and Pain and Gain. Okay, so let's just get to the cast. I mean, do you really care if I talk much about the plot of this movie? Do you really care at this point if I recount much of it without just putting a bunch of snark and jokes and meanness into this? Because I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be fucking mean towards this. Every Netflix executive that greenlit this decided not to even put this in a weekly, very weekly, as Dutch Mantel would have said about the Memphis territory schedule. If you get that, I love you guys. They didn't even put this in theaters for a little bit. Or if they did, it was nowhere around. They didn't even try to recoup any of the money. Grand, Netflix is just going to throw money on the goddamn pile and see what they can get. And yeah, they'll get clicks. They'll get fools like me watching this stuff. But it's almost to the point where they want us to hate having their service. If it really wasn't for them having WWE Raw and the occasional decent Netflix original, which they have done, no, they could have taken this money and divided among at least 6 or possibly 10 Netflix originals and made some that are good. But no, Chris Pratt, the charisma vacuum that he is. I mean, yes, he was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which his shtick worked back then. The Jurassic Park trilogy, the most recent one, until they do Rebirth. And why are they doing more? Just why? For what reason? Chris Pratt, not exactly necessarily known as, a fountain of charisma, but he's marketable, I guess. Millie Bobby Brown, who just seems to be on a string of just doing shit projects, and I really don't get... I mean, Enola Holmes and Enola Holmes 2 is fine. I mean, and there is Stranger Things, but she also did that Dragon movie that I actually totally forgot the name of, but it was just really bad, despite her actually being a pretty good young actress that actually has potential to be a breakout superstar. There's also Woody Harrelson as Mr. Peanut. By the way, Millie plays Michelle and Chris Pratt plays Keats. Should have been called Skeets, because that's what this film did. It skeeted all over everybody. Not yeet. No, we're not yeeting anywhere. Ke Huy Quan replaced Michelle Yeoh because she had outside commitments, so that's good. I'm glad he's in big budget movies, because that man is super likable and super marketable and seems very down to earth. Also, Joe Russo's wife, Ann Russo, is in this, and I know that she has a name, and I probably should have led with that, but I don't care. I'm going to be mean. Stanley Tucci is in this. Conclave to this. I mean, granted, this was probably filmed well before Conclave, but nevertheless. Kurt Loder had a brief clip in this. Who remembers Current Low? Who remembers MTV actually being good? This references MTV a few times. Alan Tudyk, or Tudyk, however the hell you say it. Coleman Domingo has a brief cameo in this. Anthony Mackie has a voice in this. Jenny Slate, who I think is very, very good. Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, this isn't as bad as Megalopolis, but it's still pretty goddamn bad. Hank Azaria. And yeah, we get various other people in this, and I don't understand what they had besides a paycheck to lead them towards being in this slop. The Electric State basically takes place in the immediate aftermath of robots rising up against humans because they are tired of being used for manual labor. They want to have rights and everything. And then during a period, we basically are losing the war, and then there is this thing called the Neurocaster, created by Skate, played by Stanley Tucci, who he creates this technology that is able to basically win the war by having humans take over these robots and have the robot bodies, but think like humans and outsmart these robots or something. All this is told in montage form, and nobody really cares because none of it is allowed to breathe. And this seems to be the type of film that is setting up a potential franchise. I don't know why. I don't know where they think they can go with this story, because they simultaneously try to go places while going nowhere with this story. But nevertheless, Stanley Tucci basically creates this technology. It's called a Neurocaster. And now they, after the year or so after the robot war, the world is in tatters. There's this thing called the exclusion zone where a bunch of robots are somewhere in New Mexico, and we are in the post-apocalyptic year of 1994. So Street Fighter came out. Street Fighter was a better, encapsulation of 1994 than this. Game over for me. It was Tuesday. Rest in peace, Raul Julia. This movie would have killed Raul Julia, by the way, if he was still alive. This movie nearly killed me. I cannot begin to describe how much I hated this movie, how much I hate the fact that this represents every manufacturer line movie that has come out. And yes, the whole point of movies is to make money, but that's the thing. There's like F1 coming out, that's got a $300 million price tag that there's no way it's going to make that money back. The Alto Knights is coming out. It's got like $100-something million budgets. There are all these movies coming out with these massive budgets, and then you see these other independent films or even these mid-level action horror movies that could be so good with the right marketing, but no, they aren't trusted, and this money it has to be a freaking scheme at this point. There is, and I'm not going conspiracy there, but this has to be a money laundering scheme, because there is no excuse for this amount of money and these amount of resources being wasted on this, a film that you have seen the story, elements play out time and time and time and time again. Again, do you really care about the plot at this point? Have you seen this movie? Did you force yourself to go through this? I only did because I just had to see if it was as bad as some of the reviews had said. I'd seen the scores, I skimmed through some of the reviews, I'd seen the poster, I read about the budget. Again, I'm not the biggest Chris Pratt fan, but I recognize these been part of successful franchises. And again, $300 million budget, but the basic plot of this is basically Michelle and her brother. In the beginning, Christopher goes to, really does well in a college test course. Stanley Tucci is running this college, and the idea is he's not sure he wants to be separated from his sister necessarily, but she says it doesn't matter, if you're down here, or down the hall or on the moon, we'll always be connected. And he's a little standoffish because he's a younger brother, but he's super, super smart. Then the robot revolution happens, and she has lost her family, but then gets an indication that her brother is still alive and goes off to find him. Meets Chris Pratt, named Keats, meets a robot named Herm, and from there, we just go on with a bunch of action-y stuff with robots wanting rights and technology defining our lives and everything, and none of this is allowed to really breathe or be good or be even halfway competent. The movie is simultaneously simplistic yet completely incomprehensibly incoherent. I cannot believe how bad this movie is. And at the end, they basically imply that they're going to get a sequel. It's on Netflix. I'm going to get into spoilers, by the way, because I think I've ranted enough about it. But yeah, it's on Netflix if you want to put yourself through it. There you go, spoilers. So, the post-apocalyptic future of 1994. We see Mr. Peanut, voiced by Woody Harrelson, who signs a peace treaty after this robot revolution war thing is taken down. And none of this stuff, like, of robots attacking landmarks and whatever is actually any good. Like, I think the Russos thought this was a good idea. Or maybe they just got lucky with Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, because maybe they actually aren't very good at making movies, because The Gray Man is proof of that. I mean, when you can make me not want to watch anything with Ana de Armas in it, that's saying something. There's also an overriding theme of a character named Kid Cosmos, the big smiling yellow robot-faced individual that had the MTV logo and stuff like that. You know, back when MTV actually did music videos and Beavis and Butthead. And Joe's Apartment, a friend of mine in San Antonio, recently reminded me of Joe's Apartment. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. No, seriously, great friend, but I forgot all about that. Anyway, Kid Cosmos is like a character that they like, and the idea is Christopher's a bit of a nerd. Well, so the robots have been servants for too long. I will admit they at least mixed the robots in with the old footage fairly well, but it also felt very AI generated. And the Neurocaster is like a giant Viewmaster thing. Wow, that's one hell of a Viewmaster. Oh yeah, this is when science did not have any specific purpose. And there's this thing called the Sentre network, which it's spelled Sentre for maximum techiness, I guess. Anyway, Skate runs this thing. Jason Alexander has a brief appearance as the foster dad of Michelle. There's a cat. I hope the cat's okay. That's really about all I hope. I would have been happy following the fucking cat for the rest of the movie. The electric cat state. But yeah, Cosmos shows up, and it turns out, by the way, that there was this thing referred to earlier. Christopher talks about, you know, there's this connection and everything, and, you know, having a way to, like, you know, have his mind in something, and mind through technology, the Neurocaster being able to be in two places at once, work and play. You can do that. Except people then get too addicted to technology, so they get lazy. They become a slave to the system. Do you get it? Do you get it? Yes, we all become a slave to technology at some point. I'm filming on a smartphone right here. And even though I didn't have a smartphone until 2013, yes, I know, now I would be lost without one, but you can learn to unplug at least a little bit. So the idea is go to the exclusion zone. She ends up meeting Keats, who is running some kind of black market thing where he's got a bunch of supplies and stuff like that. Him and Herm are running this. There's some big mouth Billy Basses. We had one of those at our house. I don't know why. Marketing and everything. I don't know why Coleman Domingo is in this. I love Coleman Domingo. He must have been bored and just done like one scene. Because like you only see his face like on... like his eyes even, because it's like the Neurocaster Viewmaster thing. And great in Sing Sing, by the way. Watch Sing Sing if you haven't checked that out. Giancarlo Esposito is like this butcher, baker, candlestick maker. Butcher, baker, nightmare maker, I think is a movie I need to watch. And Giancarlo is always in bad movies, and I don't understand why. So, yeah, none of this is any good. There's like this brief... skirmish going on in the cave, because Giancarlo Esposito, and I know, again, he had an actual name. I'm just going to call him Rocksteady. I know that actually wasn't it, but it had something like that. Herm ended up saving Keats at one point, so there was a bond with that. They end up having their hideout basically invaded by Giancarlo. I think everybody's worried about Giancarlo Esposito invading their dreams at some point. I know I am, especially after Megalopolis. Basically because I said a lot of unkind things about everybody in that movie. But after their hideout in these cliffs gets destroyed, somehow their hideout had an escape route into the exclusion zone. Which, I'm not sure that was the best idea, because what if the door was stuck and you needed to get out? But never mind. Ethan, basically, Ethan was a character, like, Ethan was, by the way, the, let's just say this, I'm just going to say Ke Huy Quan. He is the he's the doctor that got Christopher, over to this, area, over to the Sentre network to become, this, basically this key to control all the drones and stuff like that, because he's so super smart. That test was literally just a way for Skate to find out how intelligent he was, to use his mind. So now he's hooked up like a goddamn thing, like he's the fucking lawnmower man, or like he's the fucking, I don't know, he's like some kind of central nervous system. So the exclusion zone is an old mall. Mr. Peanut runs this whole thing. Is any of this supposed to be funny, is what I'm noting. There are some scavenger bots, and none of this really ends up mattering. Ke Huy Quan deserves better, is what I noted. Lots of explosions. Lots of shit going on. Mr. Peanut fights with Giancarlo Esposito. Woody Harrelson and Esposito fighting would just be hilarious at this point at their advanced ages. But he gets his hat ripped off. Mr. Peanut does. But then it turns out that Esposito realizes, hey, wait a second. All this stuff that I'm doing, I'm hunting the Cosmos bot. And it turns out it's not a bot. It's connected to the boy. I'm just supposed to hunt robots. Everybody's having a crisis of faith, which I would have definitely been doing watching this movie, or being in this movie. And let's go to Seattle. Well, that's a depressing sentence. So now the final showdown is in Seattle, where they're basically going to have a showdown and destroy this Sentre Network headquarters thing. And the idea is they're throwing all these cars around, all this destruction, and well, that's just a typical day in Seattle with all the goddamn crime. I know, because I live near Seattle. Not in Seattle, thankfully, because it's expensive and I wouldn't want to live there. But then the idea is basically, Michelle ends up using Ke Huy Quan's computer monitor creature crab thing, because he ends up getting killed, but all his intelligence was loaded into this system. And the idea is now she's going to find a way, even though she never wanted to put on the Neurocaster and didn't want to deal with technology because her family died in a goddamn, wreck with a deer. That's something I forgot to mention earlier during my ranting. But she ended up just not wanting to be part of, any technology. But then she had to put on the Neurocaster, see into her brother's dreams, and her brother and her basically have a heart-to-heart in the most generic, bland way possible, where he says, they've hacked me in, they've locked me in, I can't get out, I'm connected. If you kill me, then the Sentre network won't live anymore, and robots will be able to be free. But if you don't kill me, all the good robots are going to die. Skate is trying to prevent this, but not in a great way, because he sends all his drones out to attack everybody else. Herm ends up almost getting killed, but doesn't quite get killed. And Chris Pratt is, freaking out because everybody's like, everybody's attacking. Jenny Slate, I believe, was Penny Powell, I think was the name of this mail service girl dropping off a package. I'm just going to leave that one alone. And basically Christopher ends up saying, well, I'm not going to be able to live. It's symbiotic. Like, you disconnect me, I'm dead. So you're going to be the one to change the world and everything. And so she disconnects him and Sentre's no more. Cool. Okay, whatever. That's movie over. What do you mean there's a little bit more? Skate basically says, well, now what happens? Do I die? And Mr. Peanut says, no, we live. Mr. Peanut got his hat back, by the way. Fused back on. Sentre gets shut down, Skate is arrested, and Michelle sends a video basically telling people, look, I'm sorry I disconnected you, but come live with us, in this desolate desert wasteland where we can start anew. Instead of the cities that you're in where you could just pick up the pieces, but no, it's fine. Oh, and then a dog's drinking, and suddenly the Cosmos bot that was dumped in the goddamn, wasteland, or in the pile, the junkyard, that's the word I'm trying to come up with, is suddenly alive. Oh boy, Christopher's here and they want to imply they're going to get a sequel. How dare you, Russos? How dare you, Marcus? How dare you, McFeely? How dare you, Netflix? How very dare you? How dare you continue to exist on this planet? How dare you? Yeah, I probably should take this movie just as straight entertainment, but it isn't. It isn't good at all. The Electric State is a complete waste of resources, as I said. $320 million for something that looks like basically it was just a pumped up version of Ready Player One, except Ready Player One, while not perfect, had intelligence and life and energy and Olivia Cook. Where's Olivia Cook? She should have not been in this. She should be in better movies. That being said, yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible. F in case you can't guess. I'm continuing to find movies that are worse and worse. It is going to be a rough year for my worst years of the movie list by the end of this year. We are only in mid-March. My God, what am I doing to myself? Agree, disagree, what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland, and I'll see you soon.